Welcome to Lancashire Business Stories, the podcast that does exactly what it says on the tin. I'm your host, Paul Lim, and every week we're joined by local business owners to talk about their journey into business and how they've grown and scaled their own organisations. We'll talk about some of the challenges they've faced along the way and the successes that they've had in growing their businesses, so you, our listeners and viewers, can learn and apply those same principles into your own business, so you can grow and succeed. If this is the first time that you've watched or listened to the podcast, please hit the subscribe or follow button. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let's get to it. Marc McLoughlin, welcome to Lancashire Business Stories.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we're going to talk about your business, and we'll tell everybody all about it in a minute. We always start in the same place, and that's with how you got to where you are now. So your journey from leaving education, really, your career, to the point where you became a business owner, what prompted you into business ownership, all those kind of things. So just give us a sort of summary of how you got started and what you've done through your career to the point where you became a business owner.
You did say 45 minutes, didn't you?
Yeah.
We'll try.
So I did say a summary as well, though, Marc.
Again, I'll not give you my full life story, but it does go back to being a kid, really. My dad was quite a charismatic local businessman.
Yeah. What did he do?
He was in snooker. He used to manage snooker players, including Alex Higgins back in the day. He used to have snooker halls, bingo halls, always kind of like holding court, telling jokes, this type of thing. But really sharp dresser, briefcase every day. And I was just used to that every day, coming home, and my dad would come home from work, and that's what I thought that I was supposed to do type thing. So I always imagined myself being in business, wearing a suit for work, not that many of us do these days, but so that was inspiring for me, I think, and drummed into me. My dad worked really hard, passed away at the tender age of 57, which made a mark. When
no age, is it?
No age at all. I think I was probably 12 at the time, 13. Me and my two brothers, older brother, younger brother. But again, all three of us ended up in business.
Yeah.
My older brother works in the gaming industry, fruit machines, jukeboxes, pool tables for pubs and clubs. My younger brother, he's not in business for himself anymore, but he's in kind of like tech and web and design and stuff like that. So at one point, all three of us had our own businesses, and we had all of our offices all next to each other in my older brother's building.
Wow.
So I think, and I've always been very curious, always been very nosy.
Yeah.
I'm a nosy bugger, I think. And I'm interested in people, and I like to know what they're doing, and I love to help people. Seemed like a natural thing, really. But I started off my career going to college, doing business and finance, advanced GMVQ. Do they even do those anymore? I don't know.
No idea.
Quit that after a year because all my pals were buying cars and going on holidays, and I thought I wouldn't mind a bit of that. And local finance company was hiring Haydock Finance in Blackburn. Right. So I actually worked there over the best part of 10 years, over 3 different spells. Came away from finance into something adjacent but different, which was contract hire and leasing. Worked for a firm for a few years and then set up on my own. But I always remember one of my former bosses, Paul Todd, and if he's listening, Paul, shout out to you. One of my favourite person I've ever worked for, full of enthusiasm. And I always remember him saying to me in a board meeting, a bit like this table here, Marc, stay in your lane. We've got other people that are doing that. I don't want to stay in my lane. I want to be involved and have some influence over strategy and stuff like that. Yeah, I've always been an ambitious so-and-so,
What was the push, do you think, that made you set up on your own and start your own business rather than working for somebody else?
I think getting to a point where I felt I knew enough to get going, really. I think I was 30 when I started my business. Because I know some people invent things or come up with something new and start businesses at 16, 18, 20, but I had some advice when I was younger, which was just get your head down and do good work and some good things will happen for you type thing. So I always had that in the back of my mind. But I needed to learn the job that I was in. And that was lending, it was credit, it was leasing, a lot of it was vehicle-based as well for a long period of time. Yeah, it's when I felt confident enough to give it a go. Unfortunately, my brother Lee supported me with launching the business. Not always fun working with family, but I'm forever grateful for him for giving me that kind of head start, that kick start, so to speak. And about 30 years old, I remember naively handing around my business cards to all of my current colleagues for my new business, which was a competitor of the one that I was working for, and not really having that awareness to register that was like even a problem.
But sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a good thing.
It was reasonably well received, I think.
It's the stuff that we get in our heads about the stuff that we shouldn't be doing, the beliefs that we get in our heads that stop us doing stuff.
Yeah.
What was the original business called?
It was a pretty imaginative title, business name, UK Vehicle Solutions Limited.
Does exactly what it says on the tin.
But then I ended up going off tangent with 3 or 4. You had UK Vehicle Credit, UK Vehicle Discount, and got a little bit off track with it, really.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, the business that I first started, which became Key Fleet, which is the one that a lot of people associate me with, was about sourcing vehicles and finance for, let's just say, customers, because at that time it was probably business customers and private. But like a lot of people, you try, in your naivety, starting your first business, you try and be a few things to everybody, and you dilute your focus and you dilute your skill, and we went down that rabbit hole a little bit until we properly formalised the business as Key Fleet, I would say, around 2012, before then exiting 10 years later.
So when you first started that business, and we've talked about this before we got started recording, talking about start with the end in mind, did you have an idea about what you wanted it to become?
No. Different this time round. I'm sure we'll get to my just 2 years old business, Orca, shortly, but a lot of learnings from that first time round the block, really. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't have a defined market. I had a lack of clarity on product services. I didn't have a USP or a point of difference. In fact, I'd never even heard those terms when I started my business. And like a lot of people, I was winging it. We had some success, though. I mean, from them first, say, 2007, 2008, when I started in earnest, I think by 2010, 2011, probably the team of 6 or 7 people. But we were doing online retail car leasing is what we were doing. And that's to private individuals. It's very price orientated. It's a race to the bottom. It's very lead gen heavy, marketing hungry, conversion low, loyalty low. Still trying to do business the right way, but it was, and the model was flawed somewhat because it was an online business that required people to do it. It wasn't a checkout. It was a spend all the money on digital marketing, and then we'll serve you with an individual as well. So the margins were really tight. I remember first month in business was October 2007, and I was at home in my back bedroom, car leasing broker, and made 10 grand. And I thought, I'd never seen that kind of money before. I thought, why have I not been doing this all my life? That's probably the most money I made for about 3 years after that. But I remember when the business had that first stage of being a busy car leasing retailer, if you want to call it that, an online business, the business got up to about 9 people. We had about 6 on sales, 3 on support and admin and services.
Who was the first? What was the first role that you recruited for?
Sales. First role I recruited for was sales. I think I tell a lie, it was admin support. I hired a girl called Chantel who worked for me for a short time when we were based at Lee's offices at Accrington. Then I had a pal of mine, James, who was in the motor trade, who came to do that. And we quickly became a team of 4 or 5. We moved up to some offices at Shadsworth in Blackburn, and the team got up to about 9. Hired a couple of former colleagues from Orca Finance. But it got away from me a little bit. It became a bit of a beast. It became like, because they weren't out doing business development, these guys were waiting for inquiries. And it was all pay-per-click, it was price aggregators, it was lead gen. And I remember at one point, we'd had our best ever month. We sold 63 cars, or vans, excuse me. And our average net profit per unit was 287 quid.
Wow.
For selling what was probably then 30 grand cars or something like that. And I had a X number of thousands marketing cost. I had a wage bill that looked chunky. And it was just one of those businesses where the numbers didn't stack up. And that's actually the time when I made one of the few really good decisions I've made in business, which was to switch from retail to B2B. And that was when Key Fleet was born, because we didn't want to be UK vehicle leasing type outfit. We wanted to look and sound like a fleet business, a contract hire provider.
I think one of the things that you're saying there struck home with me, because for me, numbers are the language of business. Whether it's financial numbers, whether it's number of leads coming in, your conversion rate, whatever it happens to be. And there's so many business owners who go, we're really busy, we've had X number of orders in, which is great, but when you actually look at the bottom line, we're not making any money, or where's all the money gone? And it's just understanding those finances, understanding your cost of sale, your average order value, average profit per order, and what you need to do to bring that in. And all of a sudden,
100%.
it either makes sense or it doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
it's helping people to figure that out along the way, which is part of what we do.
Completely agree. And you need that visibility on all that stuff. I'm probably giving you the impression that was really on the numbers then. I wasn't. I could work out. That was probably something like gross profit per unit before actually running the business, that. And I didn't have clarity on the key kind of levers in my business. I didn't manage cash. We had a rough idea, but it was finger in the air stuff. Yeah. But I think as well, this is part of the problem when people start a business. First off, there's a lot of people that shouldn't start a business because it's bloody hard. And a lot of people who start businesses start, in my opinion, because they're good at the thing that they do, whether it's like making tables or selling cars or business coaching. But there's a lot of facets to a business and skill sets. And it can be challenging, but also as well, I think I spent the first 5-6 years of having a business thinking that I had to project a certain persona, that I had to have all the answers, that I had to drive every single little bit of it, that it was to my detriment if I was to say I didn't understand something or didn't know something. And actually, surrounding yourself with people that are better at things than what you are is absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, I had exactly the same experience when I became MD and co-owner of a business. My other owner was a silent partner. He was off running another business. So all of a sudden I was in charge of this business. And I'm sat there thinking, I need to have all the answers. I'd be sat there on a Friday evening with the team saying, are you coming out? And I'm sat there thinking, how the hell am I going to pay them next week? And you get to a stage where you think, I should know all the answers because I'm a business owner now. And it's only when you realise that actually asking for help isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength. Yeah. That you can move forwards.
But you don't know what you don't know.
No.
And very few of us that start businesses went to business school.
Yeah.
I always say it's a bit like playing a musical instrument. Like if I gave you a guitar for a few days, you'd probably manage to make it play a tune. But getting it to be on song is probably a different thing.
Yeah.
Which is why it's good not just to surround yourself with good people in your own business, but to use partners externally that are brilliant at what they do. I'm fast forwarding a bit, so feel free to pull me back in a sec. But we had another little. I can look back to like certain moments in the business where things took fundamental change, and I think after COVID, was it pre-COVID? I think it was pre-COVID actually. We decided to outsource our HR. We had a team of probably about 16, 17 then. Yep. Outsource HR, outsource finance. That was massive. Shout out Coplow Bookkeeping in Clitheroe did a great job for us back then. We outsourced our IT, and it was costing us like hundreds of pounds a month to do all this stuff. But suddenly, I've got a management pack every month. I get on top of the numbers. Yeah. And partly that was driven by the fact that I think 2017, 2018, we actually had a year where we lost money. Turnover was sky high, lost money. Yeah. And that's because I didn't have an handle on the numbers. Yeah. And it looked great because there's 20, 40, 60, 80 grand coming through the account. You're like, great, we're doing really well now. But actually didn't have a handle on the margins, the overheads, the wage bill. Yeah, getting that visibility on them key things in the business was paramount.
So important. Having a good accountant is crucial for every business, and probably 50% of our clients end up changing accountants. Yeah. Once we've started working with them, because they start asking questions, we get them to ask questions to their accountants. I hope a lot of the time I'll go into meetings with their accountants with them because we want to work with them. If they've got a good accountant, great. If they haven't, then we need to get them a good accountant because it's so important to have that backup.
I think so, yeah.
Numbers. So let's just come back then. You're growing your business. You've got a few people working for you. You're 8 years, 9 years in, and eventually you sell the business. Was there a push or a pull factor that led you to go, I want to sell this business, or were you starting to get approaches from other people?
No, it was nothing like that. I did a mergers and acquisitions talk with Nikki from Brabner's recently, and her advice was prepping for sale 3 to 5 years. And I thought I sold my business through a chance conversation at a networking event, which was completely against all of her advice. But no, I think the business by that point been through a couple of transitions. The switch from retail to B2B meant I think I let go of 5 people because we went from 9 down to 4, and then we went again with the B2B and got out of the office and started doing more small fleet SME stuff, and eventually we were 99.9% B2B. And coming up to COVID, we were adding these kind of like different fleet services. There was talk of electric cars coming, and we'd established that the vast majority of small to medium fleets were managed by the ops manager, the HR department, the office leader, or whatever it would be. So you've got non-fleet managers managing fleets and sourcing vehicles, leasing, finance, booking services, accidents, the whole shooting match. So we really built an offer that we felt was unique, with some help from an external kind of industry coach that we invested some money with.
And did you have any idea? Sorry, go on. You were going to say the name of the guy.
No, it's called Mike Midgley. Really helped us a hell of a lot during that period to transition. But not everybody came with us. So it was a different. I don't know if you've had that in businesses. When you change your market, your product, your messaging. We went from box shifting to solution selling a little bit more. We were selling a managed service rather than a vehicle.
There's a great executive coach called Marshall Goldsmith who's globally recognised as an executive coach, and he's written a few good books, and he's done some work with action coach in the past as well. And one quote that I always reminds me of him is, "What got you here won't get you there."
Right.
And sometimes that's your thinking, sometimes it's your people, because the people who help you grow from zero to a £500,000 company or a £0 to £1 million company might not be the same people to help you grow from £1 million to a £5 million company or £1 million to a £10 million company. Different ways of thinking, different systems. So you need different systems. Sometimes you need different products and services to help you move forward. So it's really apt that you say that about changing the way you think, changing the way you product.
Definitely found that, because and as well, some of what we were doing was order taking, whereas like now we've gone from being on a headset taking an order from a website to being sat in a boardroom with an FD and an MD talking about the 20 vehicles they want over the next 3 years. So it was a transition. And I'm getting up to your question really, because we got up to 2020, COVID came. That meant that every vehicle that we had on order, we couldn't deliver. I forget how long COVID went on for now. It felt like about a couple of years maybe, weren't it?
Felt like a couple of decades.
Yeah, and that was strange. I furloughed everybody, and I think there was just two of us remained in the business working, myself and a lad called Jake Yates. Shout out, Jake. And around that time, if you remember, 2020, the government brought in this 0% benefit in kind tax rate for electric vehicles. Teslas were just coming out, Polestars were being launched. So we'd already transitioned to this like consultative B2B fleet management approach, and the fact that there was a more complicated, tax efficient, different fueled vehicle coming out with new makes, new models, added a lot of complexity to buyers' decision making. So we saw that as an opportunity, leaned into it. We were still quite small in the scheme of leasing brokers, but we really lent into that. And I remember in a management meeting we had, someone said, look, if we're not careful, we're going to get known as the electric car leasing business. I'm like, do you know what, is that a bad thing? Let's kind of niche into it and lean into it. So it was that decision to lean into that and double down on the B2B stuff that led to the interest in Green Arc, who ultimately bought us. But I certainly wasn't looking to sell the business.
So you were at a networking meeting.
I was at a networking meeting.
You were having a conversation with somebody from Green Arc.
Ben Duckworth, who's currently the CEO of a company called Heat Engineer, which is part of their kind of group of businesses. But Ben was the marketing director for Craig's Energy and for Green Arc. We were doing really well. I think we'd had our best year. Bear in mind, it's all fee. We were just short of £1 million turnover, and I think we were making about 175 profit or something from memory. That might be wrong, but it was something similar to that. But we had no cash, because the problem, we had something like 550 grand in WIP, so essentially forward orders for vehicles. I don't know if you ordered the car during COVID, but they were taking months and months to come.
Mine took about 10 months.
Yeah. So that means I've got 10 months overhead to fund whilst these vehicles are coming. Yeah. So it was one of them. It was like we had a lot of confidence in what we were doing, and actually we were winning some really significant local fleets. We looked after CMAC, Forbes Solicitors, TVS at Chorley, Tazica. There was lots of businesses that we were doing a good job for and selling more than ever. But at the same time, cash was a concern, but not. We certainly weren't in a panic to sell the business. And I bumped into Ben at a networking event, and he said to me that they rebranded as Green Arc. They were really getting involved in the green energy space. They were acquiring businesses that provided products and services to help the green transition. and that they were proactively acquiring. And I said, does Chris, who's the kind of owner CEO, I said, does Chris want to buy an EV leasing business? And he said he might do. And then we had a meeting, and it turned out he did. So that kind of progressed, and it was.
So how long did that acquisition process take?
It was. We all agreed it could be relatively light touch because when you sell a business, for those that don't know, you go through like a due diligence process that the solicitors mainly get involved in, try and find out if there's any bodies buried anywhere, and get a look at all the assets, the debts, all the rest of it. And that we could have probably done that deal in 3 months, but I think it took more 7, 6, because we had to wait for FCA clearance because suddenly all of the key people in the business were changing, and that was the one thing that delayed it. But once we got a certain way down the line, we acted as if anyway, really. And the guys at Craigs and Greenart were really cooperative and supportive during that time. Stressful process though, selling your business, because whilst that due diligence is going on, you've got my leadership team consisted of 2 or 3 people at that time, and you've got to involve them in it because it changes what their role's going to be, changes their remuneration potentially. You want them to buy into it, so you all become really invested in this happening. So when you're going through that due diligence process, everybody wants it to happen. I think sometimes as a seller you forget that the buyer wants to buy you, so they're keen to get it done as well. But yeah, it seemed to take, I think I aged about 2 years in 3 months during that time.
Yeah, we listen to a lot of stories of people who've sold businesses.
Yeah. Good,
bad and ugly stories from time to time. So if there was anything that you could do differently next time around?
I am doing.
Not in terms of the way you run your business, but in terms of the sale process.
Or the sale process. We rushed it a little bit, I guess, but we were excited about it. It was a brilliant opportunity for me personally as well. I got to spread my wings in a bigger organisation. And I thought to myself, look, we've been doing this for 15 years. Maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe with some more resources and firepower, we can really push it forward. We thought we were onto something really good, so we wanted to push on that. But yeah, no, not really. I've no regrets, because ultimately you kind of do everything for a reason based on the information that you've got at that moment in time. And we felt we were a cultural fit. We liked a lot of the guys. I still have good relationships with the businesses and some of the individuals there. So no, just it would have been nice to just have someone in your corner who empathise with the process a little bit. But it feels, you're hearing terms for the first time, articles of association on your shareholders agreement. Most of us just did what I did, which was set up a business online. Yeah. You've got capital gains tax, entrepreneurs relief, share purchase agreements, and all these terms that obviously they've been really beneficial in my new career, if you will. But yeah, all that, everything was new for the first time, and that's why I think it can be a bit stressful, because it's every day is a learning day, and it's a big learning curve, and you're out your comfort zone a lot. So
I think for having an M&A specialist, a mergers and acquisition specialist in your corner, who's supporting you rather than supporting the process or supporting your buyer, I think can be really useful if you're always, but particularly if you're a first-time seller. Yeah. And for me, I don't know, we've talked, it came about quite quickly. There's a book by a guy called John Warrilow called Built to Sell. And for me, the best way for somebody to grow a business is as if they were going to sell it. So if you build your business with selling it in mind, even if you've no intention of selling it, then your business will be worth more, and you'll be more prepared when you start getting those knocks on the door and those inquiries.
Had we done that, we might have been able to expedite the process a bit more, because it was maybe clearer to the buyer. But ultimately, larger business buying a smaller business, it wasn't overly complex what we had. So I think even 6 months is relatively swift, even with the fact that you're waiting for licensing and stuff like that.
So you went from being a business owner to working for somebody else. How was that?
Challenging, interesting, rewarding on some level. We got all the team together to celebrate what had happened. It was an immediate, for a number of different reasons, positive for a lot of the team. I liked the people that I was working with. A lot of people say to me, it must be difficult working with others rather than just working on your own. But I always felt like we were a bit of a committee team anyway, really. I mean, ultimately, yes, I would maybe make a decision, but I was open-minded to it. I was really enjoying trying something new and going into new rooms with new people, and I was really enthusiastic about it. I think towards the end find it more difficult, because it's kind of like somebody else is like dressing your baby a little bit. So that did. But also as well, we were really early on all the green stuff. We were early on EVs. Green Arc as a business was very much about that transition to green energy. The political will softened a little bit with that at the moment. We've got Trump, drill baby drill, all the rest of it. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the world. So I think that hindered our progress. And that first year was really challenging. Not everything went smoothly. And then we moved into the offices over there, bigger team. And I think ultimately I kind of felt that I wasn't in a position to add an awful lot of value to what we were trying to do. A lot of my strengths are in business development, marketing, promotion, events, stuff like that, as well as the technical aspects of the job. But by that point, I hadn't done a contract hire and leasing quote for 5 years, which is why it's such a shock now that I'm right back on the tools now. But listen, no regrets. I had a great time there. Still call a lot of the guys my friends. They're actually clients of mine. I remember my mum always saying to me when I was a kid, never close doors behind you. And I've always kept that in mind. And I wish them all the best.
Never burn your bridges.
They're going from strength to strength now. They're growing their kind of fuel card business, which is going really well. It was a big learning curve, but the right thing for me and for the business for me to move on, which was January 2024. I moved on.
And did you start Orca straight away, or did you have a little bit of a break?
A little bit of a break. I had a little bit of a comfort blanket financially. I wasn't in a massive rush, but just to set your expectations, I certainly wasn't in a position where I didn't need to do something, but it didn't matter if it took me several months or whatever it would be. So I remember I left in the January, and I'd already in the kind of November, December been having conversations and considerations and planning around starting a business finance brokerage. One, it's a little bit back to my roots, my haydock days, relational, people-to-people lending, and it's solving problems for people, it's helping people grow, it's achieving their goals. I said to you before, I'm really interested in people, their plans, businesses. Business is a hobby, like I'm sure it is for you and a lot of other people. So I love the idea of doing the business finance side of things, because I also felt that I could leverage a lot of the network that I'd built over the previous probably 20 years or more for that business as well. So I left in the January. Orca didn't start until back end of April in 2024. But during that time, I didn't know what I was going to call it. I didn't know what we were going to do that was unique. I didn't know an awful lot about it. So we had to... But knowing what I did know about the mistakes I'd made previously and some of the good things that we'd done previously, I feel as though I set about it in the right way. And there's not been, second time round, touch wood, not that I'm a guru at all, but I've not had any surprises particularly. So I was really keen to go about things in a particular way, and that was getting our ducks in order and starting on that journey.
And did you start it with your partner? Did you start it on your own?
Started on my own. Rob Cassidy, who's a friend of mine who worked with me at Keyfleet and Green Arc, left the business at the same time I did. I got clear on what I wanted to do and what that was going to be. Didn't have all the answers, but I knew enough to know that Rob could get involved. Rob was from a marketing and operations background, done a little bit of selling and business development at Keyfleet Green Arc. And I had stuff to learn about getting fully into finance broking, but Rob's learning curve was really steep. But I knew he could do it, and as much as I wanted to create a new kind of life for myself and a lifestyle business in many respects, I thought that wouldn't it be great if I could do that for other people as well. And Rob's now enjoying the fruits of that, and he's really enjoyed learning about the business, and he's flying now. Rob got clear on what I wanted to do by Feb. March, Rob come on board. April, we launched website. Away we go.
Where did the Orca name come from?
I obsess over stuff like that. Names, messaging, straplines, all that type of thing. So I'd originally been thinking about what does the business do, and I wanted it to not just transact finance. I wanted it to have a significant impact for the businesses and the people that we were going to do business with. So I wanted to call it Impact. There was already a broker on the network that I work with for lender access and compliance and what have you, called something very similar. So we went back to the drawing board, and I had a book, and I had place names, I had animals, I had is it adjectives like your momentum, your propulsion, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I just had a few pals round one Sunday afternoon. There was 4 of us, including Rob, who works with me, talking about, can you help me name my business? And I said, guys, what about like an animal thing? Because some people get that right and it works really well. And we came up with all the crap ones, scorpion and whatever else you want to call it. And then I think I said to the room, what about Orca? One of the guys said, that's a pretty cool name. The other one said, what the hell's an orca? And then I think Rob said, quite like that. So, of course, they're a killer whale. Not that I was necessarily that keen to have the killer aspect involved in a financial services business from the get-go. But when you start thinking about it, they're really cool colours, black and white. They're a really majestic animal. They're expert hunters. I thought, you know what, there might be something in this. I could see the branding a little bit. I got an idea how that might work.
They live in a family. They're in a pod.
They're in pods, yeah. So all this is going through my head, and I said, look, it sounds really cool. Thanks, guys. I'm going to have a look into this. But I want to find out a bit more about orcas. But like you just alluded to there, when you look into it, there's loads of cool stuff about orcas. They're like family orientated, they're expert communicators and storytellers with the way that they have these different languages that they speak, I said, apparently. They're experts at what they do. They're kind of like an apex in the oceans. And there's also some like mythical, legendary stuff attached to them where like supposedly they would guide sailors on the voyages, and a lot of like ancient cultures thought they were like the guides of the ocean finance world. And we just made it work. And now if you go on our website, you'll see that our values are aligned to the traits of orcas. So we love Orca. We get lots of nice feedback about our branding and our messaging. Do you like it?
Somebody said to me when I told them you were coming on to speak, and said, "Oh, he'll love that coming on a pod."
The whole podcast thing's gone through my mind quite a lot.
Have you not got a podcast yet, Mark?
We haven't got a podcast, no, but we need one, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
We need one.
Absolutely.
But again, this is one of the things that I would, not to jump the gun a little bit, I know we might want to talk about I would do things differently, but I see so many businesses jump to doing the do without doing the bit before. And I think, and also like logos, branding, it's not a logo, it's not a brand. It has to speak to what you're doing and
who you are.
It's who you are, and it's what you do and what you deliver and what people are looking for. I had a chap called Adam at Pixelmate who helped us an awful lot with the web design. I had a few kind of beer mats with drawings on that I was sending pictures of, and I will claim credit for the Orca circle that looks like an orca coming towards you, but Adam did the rest. And also Richard Webster, who's a copywriter. Richard helped us with a lot of the language, which has developed a little bit in the last couple of years. But I remember him ringing me because I said, look, I want the word orca, I don't want finance, I want it to stand on its own 2 feet as orca. I said, but I think it needs a strapline though, not just the word finance, it needs some kind of strapline underneath it. So I tasked him with this, and he rang me up one day and he said, I've got it. I said, what? He said, killer finance for hungry businesses. I went, I'm trying to avoid killer. I don't know if it works because it's finance and we don't want to be a shark. Orcas eat sharks. We don't want to be like that. And I changed it ever so slightly from killer finance to hungry businesses to killer finance for growing businesses. And Richard had to convince me a bit because I was nervous about the killer thing. Yeah. He said, just lean into it. It's a little bit different. There's a lot of people who do what we do that are very bland. It's Joe Blogg's Asset Finance Limited, and they have 30 customers and they work from home and they barely have a website. Yeah. And it was a really good decision because actually people they remember us, it's memorable and they like it.
Yeah.
So
I think it's so important. I think it's funny because you've got to find a balance in that as well, because on the other side of that, there are some people that I've met who are business owners and all they do is do a logo, and they might build a website, and it's that if I build it, they will come mentality, like Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams sort of thing, and they've got no substance behind the logo and the design and maybe the website. So I think what you've done is really important, but you've got that expertise, you've got the contacts, you've got the systems in place to enable you to do that, as well as doing the upfront bit that you have to do. So you just got to find that right balance between getting too obsessed with the logo, what's my business going to look like, to what you're actually doing, and get out and actually sell some stuff as well and make some money.
Yeah, and there's loads of businesses, or certainly smaller ones, that don't do any of that stuff and have really great chatting to a pal of mine this morning. He's got a fantastic business, and it's just him and a business card and a car.
Yeah.
It depends what you want to do, but I wanted to create a platform that allowed for growth if we wanted to do it. I'm still not in a rush to grow it exponentially. There's 4 of us now. A chap called Sam's just joined the team working on the West Lancs patch as a relationship manager and finance broker. But I think you have to have that alignment from the get-go. Who's your market? What's the product and service? What's the messaging? What are they actually trying to do? Because ultimately, if you just go, there's a logo, let's get on with it, you run the risk of people saying different things to customers, people talking to the wrong types of customers. Marketing don't match with what you actually think you're trying to do. You maybe don't have an end result in mind. So you have to, unfortunately, as much as you're excited to get going, taking that few weeks just to get it bob on just informs everything down the line for me, and that's what I've tried to do with Orca, what I didn't do with my former business.
Let's talk a little bit about what Orca do.
Swim about.
Just hang around a little bit of paddle. Yeah. So tell us about Orca and how you help businesses now then. What are the services that you provide? What are the different kinds of finance you provide?
Yeah.
And maybe let's talk about some of the either mistakes or things that business owners or teams should be doing with their business when they're thinking about growth or those kind of things in terms of how finance can help or they can hinder themselves.
Okay, firstly, I would say why we do what we do is I went back to my dad before. One of the reasons my dad passed away was because of the pressures of business, really. He had a stroke and a brain hemorrhage, and I'm sure that he'd been very successful and was on the other side of it. And I don't like that, and I don't like people failing, and I like to see people happy and achieving the goals. And also, my observation with the finance market in the UK was that there's a lot of business owners that are still intimidated by finance, don't understand it. There's a massive need for it. It's not, people think that borrowing is perhaps something that you need to do when your back's against the wall, but it's not necessarily. Sometimes it is, and I've been there myself, in which the empathy side of it helps a lot when I'm dealing with business owners, but most of the time it should be strategic and progressive and growth focused, and it can actually deliver for you. It's the fuel that gets your business from A to B, is the finance side of it.
Many of the people I talk to, they're really proud to tell me that they bootstrap their business and they haven't had any finance, and I go, why? Because there's good debt and bad debt, of course. Good debt's stuff that you're using as an investment that if you took a silly example, you're at capacity, it's going to cost you 100 grand for a machine, but if you get that 100 grand machine, you're going to be able to do another 500,000 in profit. Exactly. And you can, as long as you can cash flow the repayments on the machine, then you've instantly got a return on investment.
Makes
so
sense.
as long as you can do the plan behind that. Bad debt is when you go and borrow some money to buy a flash car. So understanding and having that focus and that plan is really important. Isn't it?
Completely agree. And unfortunately, there's some credit that's too easy to get these days. I'll not mention any of the names of some of the businesses that are fantastic at marketing to businesses. You've had the letters yourself, you're pre-approved for a 50 grand loan, 25 grand in your bank tomorrow. And it's a lot of kind of scorecard, algorithm, underwriting. It's very faceless. There's a lot of unskilled order takers that will not consult on your needs. They will just provide you with the thing that you ask for. And we, as brokers, our role is not to advise, it is to present information and guide. Ultimately, the business owner's got to make the decision. But I just felt like there was a space for it, particularly in Lancashire. I had a look around and realised that there wasn't an awful lot going on. Certainly for a business that was progressive and hopefully a bit sexy like ours is, and the branding and our value proposition and everything. So that's why we got involved in it. And also I felt that we had that network that we could lean on to collaborate with and do business with. So what we actually do, I would say that we help businesses and their owners grow, achieve their objectives and get access to the finance they need to do all that stuff. If you were to go online and Google asset finance business loans, there's a gazillion that come up, but it's hard enough for me with 100 lenders to work out what the best solution is. Yep. If you're a customer on your own, a business owner, an FD, that is almost impossible. And a lot of people end up in the wrong place with the wrong thing. So I felt like that was a solution we could offer. And I remember reading as well in a NACFB report, which is our governing body, if you want to call it that. It's probably the wrong words, but something like that. And they said that 70% of SMEs use a broker to arrange funding, and 70% of those brokers have less than 3 staff. So the whole industry is a bit like the IFA market. They belong to networks, they might work from home or be a small team. Not all of it, but some of it. And small doesn't mean incompetent and big doesn't mean competent. I just meant that there's a lot of smaller work from home brokers, and I felt that we could build something a little bit different that could be scalable if we decide to push the pedal. That was solving these problems. But the kind of 4 or 5 core things that we do for business are, product-wise, asset finance and refinance. Could be this table, furniture, camera equipment, trucks, printing press, coffee machine, you name it. So we do that type of thing. Asset refinance is when you're raising money against assets that you already have. We do business loans. Sometimes they can be for cash flow, consolidation, working capital. Often they're for growth purposes. Most of the loans we do are for growth. We've got this new opportunity to refurb an office and whatever it will be. That includes business acquisition as well. We've built a little bit of a specialism in M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Essentially, we help finance the purchase of shares. So whether you're an MBO buying other directors out or you're looking to buy another company, you can also do that through leverage purchase, which is a really clever way of doing it, where you're essentially getting the target business to pay the bill for you to acquire it. So those 2 areas.
Vendor finance as well, don't they? Where you are actually paying them back over time.
Yeah, vendor or seller finance. So you could have a situation where you're buying a company for £1 million. It's $500,000 up front, which you might need finance for, and then it's 250 grand a year for 2 years or whatever it will be. And you can have earn-outs and all sorts of other things. So we specialise in that. The other side is invoice finance, factoring, discounting. It all comes under the umbrella of invoice finance, essentially. They're just different nuances to it. I really like invoice finance. I think it's a great solution for businesses, purely because I was talking to a company the other day, and they have got their clients paying them on 60 or 90 days. And the first thing they think they need, and this is the kind of Google process that they will go through, is, I need a loan. The loan's going to give you 100 grand today, and next month your payment's 3 grand. Regardless of what you've sold or what your cash situation is. Invoice finance might, this is not always, be ever so slightly more expensive, but it tracks your sales. You can essentially draw down money against what you're invoicing. And that, I think, works really well for a business to manage cash flow. And ultimately, if your client's taking 2-3 months to pay you, why should you be a free bank and provide them credit?
I think invoice discount. We used invoice discounting when we started the business that I was MD and co-owner of. Without going into detail, at the time, my co-owner, who owned another business, was going to put some working capital in, but working capital never appeared. So we ended up we were buying and selling stuff, and we were on 30-day terms, and some of our clients were on 45-day or 60-day terms. So all of a sudden, we had this situation where we had a negative cash flow and we had a cash gap. We were lucky in that we were able to get some really good invoice financing in place. And we got something like 75 to 80% of the value of the invoice covered on invoice finance. So we had working capital almost from day one, really. And the other element of it, which was really good, is that they were really strong on, obviously, credit checking our clients and new clients to make sure that we weren't making any stupid errors and mistakes in terms of the way that we were approaching those kind of jobs. So it didn't become the bank of Paul. We were making sure that we were doing the right things in terms of who we chose to work with and who we didn't, and the terms that we were offering them.
I think you're right.
So really good way of doing it.
So and that's the difference between factoring and discounting often, is whether or not you are taking invoice finance and managing your own credit control, or you are outsourcing the credit control to the invoice finance company. But again, if you're a small business and resources is not in abundance, or skill isn't, you also as well get the ability to step away from being the guy that's knocking for the money a bit. Because it's always very difficult to ask your clients that you have relationships with, can you pay me? Don't get me wrong, the best clients always pay you, but sometimes there's a local conversation needs to happen. So I'm a massive fan of invoice finance. I think we have around 12 different invoice finance providers we deal with. Some are great for recruitment, some for construction, some for big deals, some for small deals. And the 2 other areas, we do a little bit of property. It's a fledgling area for us, really, but we have been involved in a few transactions. We recently financed a pub for over £1 million in Clitheroe, and we've got 2 or 3 transactions running at the moment. That's just my bar bill, that. Bar and food. And then finally we do the motor and the fleet stuff as well. And in the early... So I've just gone off piece a little bit here, Paul. I told you I wouldn't have run out of things to say. I remember the first couple of months we did 2 pieces of business. One was for a heavy goods vehicle for a couple of £100,000 that was for a finance director, and the conversation or the problem we were solving there is, what rates are you? Now, it's not really a challenge we get that often because we charge fairly and we've got great lenders. But the problem you're solving there is a bit of service, bit of ease, but really it's like the price is more important there. And that was for, I don't know, it was for a couple £100,000 we did in the first couple of months, first month. And then, and she won't mind me mentioning her because she's plastered all over my website anyway. Rachel Wallace, who owns a business in Burnley called Scandi Workwear. She was financing a piece of equipment for the first time. It was only a small deal, 25 grand piece of kit. I remember going to see her, kind of making my own brew and moving polo shirts off the chair, sitting down. Rachel's absolutely lovely and brilliant at what she does, but never done that before. I don't know anything about making T-shirts or branding them, certainly, and that the same is vice versa. So was able to advise her a little bit around, or certainly guide her around some of the grant thing that she was applying for, the VAT element, explaining how that might work, and got a lot more satisfaction out of that deal, which probably made us a quarter of the money that the big deal did. We like a blend. You need them big easy ones as well as the smaller complex ones and everything in between. But that I really enjoyed doing that because when Rachel took that new machine on, it put a production up by 400% of capacity. So it was like a 4-header instead of a single header embroidery machine. And I know that it kind of gave her a lot of confidence to go for some bigger contracts and some bigger run stuff. So that was like one of my favourite ones that we did early days, so enjoyed that.
I'm sure you've got loads of different clients that you could talk to us about for hours and hours. How do people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you about their business and finance?
As you probably know, I live in LinkedIn a lot of the time. They can contact us on LinkedIn. Our website is orcafin.co.uk. Did you get what I did
See
there,
where you're
Paul?
going there.
See
where you're going there.
But you'll catch us on patch, really. We mostly work with businesses in Lancashire. And more importantly, when people ask me, who do you want to deal with? I ask for people that I can collaborate with. Business coaches, business advisors, non-exec directors, accountants, solicitors. Most of our business is we've done something recently with Nikki at Brabner's, solicitor in Preston, helping company in, I think it's Chorley area or North Manchester, working with us, with the local lender, and it's that ecosystem. If you're talking to a local business advisor, there's a good chance they're working with us. But they can contact me directly as well.
So if you go to a networking event anywhere in Lancashire, the chances are you're probably going to be there or Robb's going to be there. 2 of
my colleagues, Rob and Sam, are presenting at a networking event at Brockhall's Nature Reserve as we speak.
There you go. Brilliant. A couple of quick fire questions to finish off then. If you could offer your younger self, just before you were starting out in business on your own, a piece of advice, what kind of advice would you offer yourself? Or any other youngsters out there?
I think it was what we were talking about earlier. It's be you. You rather than doing an imitation of somebody else, why not be 100% authentically you? Because you do the best impression of yourself that anyone else can do. That idea of trying to think you've got all the answers, get help, outsource the things that you're not good at, or hire people to do the things that you're not good at. I personally love outsourcing because it creates a degree of accountability. As obviously you're working in partnership, but it's a supplier-customer relationship, and you can be very direct about what you need, and they're very focused on delivering for you.
I think one of the biggest challenges with business owners is getting out of that. There's the two statements that a lot of them make in terms of beliefs. Why should I pay somebody else to do it when I can do it myself? And nobody can do it better than I can. And you and I both know that both of those are not true. You can pay somebody else to do something so you can do something more valuable. And there's lots of people who are better at doing stuff than we are. But if there's elements of your business that you can get somebody else to do who can do it twice as quick for often half the cost.
And often better.
And you can do it. You can do something else that's more valuable for your business. Why wouldn't you? Is the
absolutely.
Answer, really.
I'm at that point in my business now where there's 4 of us now. There was 2 of us when we started, and I've been very much on the tools. Learned a lot last couple of years. I'm not coming off the tools, but maybe half of them. I've got people that can facilitate a lot of stuff now.
And we're living in relatively uncertain times. Obviously, there's a lot going on as we're recording this. If you had one top tip for existing business owners, whether that's around finance or another element of business, what would that be, do you think?
For business owners, I think one thing that's come out the last few years is that cash is king. Keeping the cash in your business, protect it. You can't always create cash as quickly as you can do by financing assets. I spoke to a business recently. They have got some fantastic opportunities to grow. They've paid for everything themselves from cash over the years. I think they turn over about 5 million. They could be doing 10 million, but they need 5, 6, 7, 800 grand in order to do it. They've been around the houses. They can't make it happen, but they've been asking for the wrong thing. We've had a look at it. Turns out they've got 800 grand's worth of unencumbered assets in the business.
Right.
We can raise money against those, not for bad debt, not to pay bills, to acquire more business and grow the business. And I think working with a good broker or good advisors, coaches, whatever it will be, to help you lift your head up really and look at some of the options that are available and be strategic. I think my tip would be think of finance as a tool for growth, not something when your back's against the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I add to that, you said cash is king, absolutely, and always have a cash flow forecast. And they're ever so easy to do. You just take your last 3 months of bank statements and in its simplest format, stick it into a 3-month forecast, and all of a sudden you've got your overheads there. You can judge what sales are going to come in that you know about already. You do a bit of blue sky thinking on what's not.
Yeah.
And then you've got a cash flow forecast. And whether you're going to be able to afford to buy something or whether you're going to need to do something else with it. But then you can start playing around with that and say, what if we got another person in? Because one of the things that holds people back from employing somebody is, can I afford to pay them? And you might have enough money to pay month 1 and month 2, but not month 3, 4, 5 and 6. So you go, okay, if we had another salary in and the other bits and pieces that need to pay,
what does that do?
What's that going to do to the cash flow forecast? You can do it in a simple spreadsheet. We've got a tool called Action Cash and Action Plan, which enable them to do proper financial forecasting.
Yeah.
And then you can go, okay, what are the likely impacts of employing a salesperson? What would they need to bring in order to not only cover their costs, but make another multiple of profit on top of that?
Absolutely.
To make it worthwhile doing it.
Yeah.
And the numbers will tell you the answer to what you're looking for. So have a great cash flow forecast.
I think you just touched on something else as well there that I think is really important. I see a friend of mine who has a business in Blackburn put on LinkedIn the other day, I'm looking for a BDM type person to help me sell more stuff. And I'm like, well, that's
big.
You know, that's brilliant, and aren't we all?
Yeah.
But you've got to go back to those basics. Who are you for? Who are your people? What problems do you solve? What's your mission? What's your values? What vision have you got for the business? Why are you different? What's your messaging sound like? If you don't do all that graft at the start, you can hire 50 salespeople. They won't have a clue what they're doing because you haven't got that alignment and clarity.
Yeah.
So take your time and get it right.
Yeah.
And you won't, if it's your first business, you won't be able to do that. So speak to someone like yourself who can help them with that.
Yeah, definitely. Very last question. We've got a backdrop of books here. Are there any particular books or podcasts or videos or people you listen to that you would recommend
I've read
for
some
people?
of these. I'm seeing a few that I like.
You will have read some of them.
Quite like Harry Potter.
I haven't got any Harry Potter in here, although some people need a bit of magic in the business.
That's a great book. They Ask, You Answer, Marcus Sheridan. Love that from a marketing point of view. That's one of my favourites. Oversubscribed is brilliant. One of my favourites, actually, my go-to, and I probably have gifted this to a couple of people like I know you do, the E-Myth.
Yeah.
Michael Gerber, talking about the franchise prototype and systems and operations. And I don't know if you remember the story about Sarah, the pie maker, and all that.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant book. I love that. There's one that was particularly impactful for me that I like. It's called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
I've
I don't know
not
if
heard
you've
of
read
that one. No.
That's by a guy called Robin Sharma.
Well, I
He's
know
the
Robin
author-
Sharma, but I've not heard of that particular
author
book.
of the 5am Club and a couple of other bits. So that's a kind of bit of a fable-based story about a bit of balance, monks, Ferraris type thing. Podcasts, not necessarily businesses, sometimes it is, but I listen to Joe Rogan all the time. I love that podcast. I'm secretly a bit of a conspiracy theorist and ufologist, so I do love all that stuff.
Yeah.
But from a business point of view, there's a few, but I enjoy the Gary Vaynerchuk stuff.
Yeah.
Gary V. He's a marketing guru.
He's a legend. We had him at BizX a couple of years, last year actually. He was amazing. Really good speaker.
Clever guy, really switched on, trendsetter, I would say, really looking forward. Got a great book as well called Jab Hook, I think.
Jab Left Hook. Jab Left Hook.
Yeah, which is about marketing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't know if I'm typical, Paul, but have you got it there?
No.
Or day trade, I haven't got that one.
No? Oh, you can borrow that.
Right, lovely. I might not bring it back.
It's all right. I can find you.
No, big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and I don't know if this is typical, but I kind of like, my role has always gone towards biz dev, marketing, promotions, opportunities, relationships, and I'm more than happy to let other people do some of the technical work as long as we're all on the same page, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one book you mentioned, the E-Myth Revisited, you can see there's a pile of them down there. We give one to every single client who starts with us, and we insist that they read it, because every single person that I've ever given it to sees themselves somewhere in that book, whether it's the technician role, the manager role, the entrepreneur role. Most people see themselves as a technician because, as you said earlier, they're really good at what they do and then decide to start a business because they don't want to make money for somebody else or for whatever reason. And they've worked for years to become really good at what they do, and they've trained hard and they're still learning, but they've never had any training on how to run a business and how to be a business owner, and that's where we come in. But I think that book really opens people's eyes to what can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And why would we know how to run a business unless you've been trained?
Absolutely.
So, I'll tell you one other book. I know you're looking at me saying, Mark, shut up. But a book, there's a couple of books. Losing My Virginity, Richard Branson.
Yeah.
That's really good. Have you read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight?
Yeah, the
Nike.
Nike one. Yeah.
I love that book.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that stands out to me, there was probably 3 or 4 times he had all the chips on the table.
Yeah.
Could have gone red, could have gone black, and now the Nike when they very easily couldn't have been.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant book. I love those kind of like true life books as well. Brilliant.
100%.
Mark, I feel like we could probably talk for hours, and we will do, I'm sure, in the future. But thank you very much for being on Lancashire Business Stories.
Thank you for having me and looking after me.